Hello, everyone, and welcome to the FF4 Randomizer Weekly. I am Tirasu, and I'm going to be joined tonight by Rex Rawl. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I am really excited for tonight's run for a couple of reasons. This is a pretty interesting flag set if you look on there. You might notice a couple of letters left out, and those are K and P. So we're going to have something a little bit different than normal. There's another thing that's pretty interesting. You might notice something a little bit about how the whole presentation looks tonight. What'd you say, Tarasu?
Yeah, something does look a little bit more retro than normal.
Yeah, and it looks like our main creator of this board face has got a lot of real nice Final Fantasy I NES era touches to this randomizer for today. So we're going to get to see that in all its glory. I can't wait for it. I'm sure you can either, Tarasu. I'm ready to get started.
Oh, it's going to be great. And one of the nice things is everyone's starting with an edge. That's a really nice starting character.
Yeah, we still do have characters randomized, so starting with Edge is going to make everything really easy. Another thing that's going to make things easier is we've got a lot of glitches available.
Oh, most certainly. And the most interesting one to note is that we have the Warp 64 glitch on tonight.
Yeah, we'll see if any of our runners decide to warp their way to the end of this one. So we've got 4 featured runners today. J Money Motas, Christopher Warken, Quadrack, and Chokosura, all going to be featured today. But in the meantime, you'll notice that we start with the package. That's because we have no K flag, so all the key items are in their normal location. So at the beginning of the game, you're given the package, and that's what we've got today.
Oh, most certainly, and it's going to create a little bit of interesting routing. One other thing to note, because that K flag is not on, you will get the crystal when you enter your Zeromus fight. There's also free lunch, so you get free characters, and you also get free key items from their vanilla locations.
Yeah, and since there's no randomized key items, we know that the key item in Edward's bed in Toria is going to be the Twin Harp, because that's what he gives you.
Ooh, we found a wyvern on Christopher Larkin's side, right at the Baron Inn.
And here we get our first look at that sweet Final Fantasy I style battle screen. Very nice. We do see Chokosura making use of the item duplication glitch to get infinite money right at the beginning of the game.
Oh, most certainly. J Money Motos just found a cane as well. And it looked like, I believe it was Chokosura's side, they picked up a Palom and a Rydia in Mysidia.
Yeah, getting your party fully decked out right away is very easy with the free lunch, as long as you're not too picky about who you get, because you're going to get whoever's available. But there's a few choices, because there's 2 characters in Mysidia, one in that Watery Pass, one in Dancian, and one in Mount Ordeals that are all free.
Almost certainly. It's very easy to find 5 characters and be able to switch out when you're ready. One other thing to note is the CN flag is on, so characters are also not guaranteed to show up in this.
Yeah, can't be banking on Cecil or Rydia or anybody, but there's still a good chance you'll see them, but like we said, can't guarantee it.
See, most of our runners are kind of following a similar route, except for Christopher Warken, who started in Baron and then took a quick loot of Myth. And looks like they're going to turn in that package as well. At least check it out.
Yeah, and looting the chest is not going to be all that productive, because we don't have the general randomized untrapped chest contents flag on today, so...
This is very true.
So as you see, when Chokosura goes to that Mist Village, gets that change rod because that's where the change rod is. So if you remember the locations of important items from the vanilla game, you could go ahead and get those items in the respective spots.
It's going to test your knowledge of the vanilla game. Very interesting seed set that Dimmerine has set up tonight.
The same thing is for shops. The randomized shop contents flag is not on. So if you know what's in the shops in the vanilla game, that's what you got. This is a very different experience than regular free enterprise.
Most certainly. So finding some of those items, those in-game items, means you're going to the moon to get them if you have those characters. So like the White Spear would be in the Plague spot on the moon for Kane, or the Masamune in Ogopogo spot. Now the bosses are still randomized though.
Yes, because as we saw, that Mist Dragon was going to be the boss over at the Baigan spot. So, yeah, this as Supremacy said, the 8-bit music is so great. I've been loving it all day.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing.
And let's see here. I'm also excited to see once somebody heads on over to the Twin Harp location, and we can hear that music as well. Looks like Christopher Workin is heading towards the Antlion spot. Once he completes this dungeon, he'll be rewarded with the Sand Ruby, as that is what he is in there in the vanilla game.
That'll give him access to another key item. So probably getting 10 key items quickly, especially since you know exactly what you're going to get, is a good idea. On top of that, it would give you access to another character. But they do find the Fabul Gauntlet. While it's not hard, that's a big time sink.
Oh, yeah. Looks like Chokosura heading back over to Toria might be making... looks like doing a little bit of shopping, but might be making that run to the Cave Magnus. We'll see there.
Would make sense. That is where you get the Earth Crystal in the vanilla game. And I did see where J Money Motos found this Millen and Gast fight.
I believe that's at the top of Mount Hobbs.
Oh, you're right. It looks like Poydrak is going to the same fight.
Yeah. Now, the question is, when is somebody going to head over to the Twin Harp location? Because if you're looking for the quickest access underground, if you go take that Twin Harp to Cave Magnus, you get the Earth Crystal. Take the Earth Crystal to the top of the Tower of Zot. That's where you get your Magma Key.
That is certainly correct. Probably just looking for a little bit to get going and going to try to make a quick run down the Cave Magnus and then up the Tower of Zot. Keep in mind, some of the characters are a little low level, and even though they have an edge, that first boss and even the second boss in Zot can be rough.
Yeah, especially that first one in that Maga Sister spot has quite a bit of hit points to try to get through. The second one is a little bit lighter on the hit points, but can still be a nasty boss if the wrong boss comes up there, without a doubt. But this is a big exercise in people knowing what's available in the shops. Chokosura making a line over to Silvera, which is probably the best quality equipment that's available for sale in the overworld. But that's knowing a lot of your vanilla game. And like, in general, if people are playing free enterprise, they don't care about what's in the vanilla game. If people are familiar with speedrunning the vanilla game, they don't really need to know what's in most weapon or item shops. So this is going to be an advantage to the people who are more casual players of the vanilla game, but who still know how to run free enterprise.
Oh, most certainly. And it looks like we have our first Cave Magnus diver in J Money Motos.
All right, looks like he found a Sid too, so having both Sid and Edge being bruisers will be very helpful as well for this.
Most certainly. Sid and Edge both come at a little bit higher level. Sid eventually gets a lot of HP, and that Dart command, even though it's no randomized items or randomized shops, that Dart command still can be very useful, along with the flame spell he has.
Yeah, absolutely. That Edge is so versatile at the very beginning of the game. I mean, he's a very good character throughout the course of a run, but at the very beginning of the game, it's all he could do it all. Between guaranteed hits with the Dart command, that AOE magic attack with the flame spell, and the just pretty good DPS from attacking as well.
All right, and we're gonna have some music. Get your hype in chat.
Yeah, we're gonna hear DJ Spoony B's Rockin' Tunes, the 8-bit version, very shortly here.
Oh, very nice choice for the seed.
This is appropriate. This is very appropriate.
Now, one other thing I did want to point out before we got music, Poydrak did go check the Hob spell for Rydia and just got a bomb summon.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
J Money even showing off what the song is for everyone. And it's a Milan Z fight, not exactly a scary one for our runners.
Yeah, and I mean the problem is you don't have you can't take advantage of like the fire weakness because of the high magic defense in this spot. But the fact that he's got Kane, he's got Sid, he's got Edge, he can do enough damage with that. It's just keeping people alive with Rosa and everything like that. Other than that, this shouldn't be too big of a problem for our runners today.
Oh, most certainly won't. An interesting thing, Chokosura turned on encounters and doing a little bit of grinding outside of Troya.
Yeah, figures this might be the most efficient way to get the levels that he feels comfortable taking the boss at the bottom of Cave Magnus on, rather than going through a bunch of boss fights that aren't really going to give him anything that he wants. For example, Quest for Work and Poydrak are fighting this CPU. I believe this is in the Fabul fight. What they're going to get out of this is just a black sword. So,
Black sword, vanilla items, and not exactly a lot of experience, but it will help out Rydia since she starts at level 1.
yeah, especially for somebody like Rydia who really needs a little bit of a boost at the beginning of the game. That's nice, but I kind of like Chokosura's plan of taking on some random encounters to get that little boost of experience. It does look like he has moved over to Mount Hobbs, wants to check out the character up there.
Makes sense. Mount Hobbs, you know, pretty simple boss fight that you can get there, and at least decent experience to get your team rolling and get that last character that you want. Sid is always a welcome addition because he can also make a good agility anchor in the seed.
And J Money Motas tossing out that plane spell at Milan Z for only 1 damage. Luckily, Sid's attack does finish off the Fiend, and he does walk away from the fight. 3 of the party members not gaining the experience for it, but it was a successful fight.
Important thing, he got the Earth Crystal, which will lead to his Magma Key in just a little bit. More than likely going to go run straight up Zot.
Unless, I mean, it depends. The other thing is, could feel like Chokosura, the levels might not be there. This is going to be some of the most difficult fights on the overworld that you can get access to. That Mega Sisters fight is no joke.
It will all boil down to what is sitting at that Mega Sister spot.
Yes, indeed. That is going to be the question. If it's something simple, if it's the Baron Guards or Dark Imps, then yeah, that's going to be a pretty simple fight. If it's Kainazo, they could be in for a rough ride.
A Valvalis at that spot could also be pretty nasty as well.
Yeah, there's a number of bosses that would be very difficult. Speaking of difficult bosses, Poidrak fighting Ogopogo right now.
Believe they are on Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Not a super high HP spot, but Ogopogo still does half your HP at the start of the fight. Always a rough thing to contend with.
And J Money Motas continuing to let everybody enjoy the pleasant sounds of the poison. Looks like Quest for Warkin also making that play up Mount Ordeals. Now, as opposed to the fight in Fabul, where that CPU happened, these fights in Mount Ordeals, although it's only going to lead to the Legend Sword at the end, it could be more useful if we find, say, Cecil, and have him be available for the rest of the seed. That could be kind of nice, having him as a paladin instead of a Dark Knight. And these two fights here, the first two fights here, are worth a decent amount of experience for the team too. So I think overall, I can definitely understand making this play to go up Mount Ordeals.
Oh, I agree 100%. It's going to be, at least some EXP for the runners, and the fights themselves not too terribly difficult, especially since that T4 flag is not on.
Yeah, although the Ogopogo might prove a bit more difficult than they were hoping to find at this spot.
But it's also still a gamble. You're not guaranteed to run into a Cecil in this seed.
Yeah, that's the flip side of this. At least you're getting the experience, but the other added benefits are just potential. They're not real until we find Cecil.
J Money Motos deciding to go to Fabul to get their grind on the CPU fight. Chokosura finally going to go get their music taken care of.
LQ Flurry asking in the chat, what do you get from Baron in K0? Is that where the hook is? In the Baron, like the actual Baron fight, let's see here.
The original Baron fight
you
led
don't get
to
anything.
Prize, so I don't think you get anything there. The back attack spot being King Queen Eblon, a very free fight. Chokosura getting a nice skip on the first part of Dark Elf.
Yeah, making sure that trip that Choco made to Silvera to get all those silver equipment has double purpose. There's strong equipment for this part of the game, and they ensure that the characters will be auto-dead for the first part and get that skip. So, Chokosura with 2 reasons for making that run.
Very smart planning indeed.
Both Poidrak and Quest for Warkard's got to be happy to find King and Queen of Eblin as the second fight here. It's a free boss, and even before they regain their conscience, their spells are just really weak. Very easy for them to take care of.
Something interesting to note, Christopher Walken is actually fighting the King Queen Eblon. When you kill the King of Eblon, the Queen of Eblon will eventually just kill herself automatically. If you can see on his screen that just happened.
Yeah, and so if you've got enough firepower to take down the king quickly, then that's a very good thing to do. Chokosura now in the Mylon Z fight to get that Earth Crystal.
Poydrak finding the Baron guards. While in normal free enterprise, usually you can just use an hourglass, coffin, something on them to make it easier. Without those items, a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it does make it a little bit more challenging. We do have access to some status spells. If you've got access to stop, if you've got access to mute, they're both effective on this fight as well.
Most certainly, but being in the regular vanilla Dark Knight spot, not very much HP.
Yeah, generally I think in this spot you just mow them down with your bruisers.
Chokosura finishes up their Mylon Z fight and gets rewarded with their Earth Crystal.
Now we see J Money Motas, after getting that Earth Crystal, went to fight some other bosses to get some experience. It looks like we'll see if Choco feels like he needs to do a little bit more, or if he's ready to head up to the Tower of Zod.
It's going to be interesting to see when the runners feel comfortable going up that Tower of Zod and then going into the underworld.
Absolutely. And yeah, as BG Rich noted in the chats, Nito is the spell that Tell alerts. I love all the 4-character spell names in this version of the Free Enterprise. It's wonderful.
Trying to remain faithful to how Final Fantasy 1 is, with the Final Fantasy 4 skin on it.
Yeah, I mean, the lack of no XXXX is a little sad, but I understand there's no direct analog.
J Money getting that surprise Wyvern fight at the Baron Inn as well.
Got mega nuked.
Don't have easy access to Sarvales. That Wyvern fight could be really tough for some of our runners. Chokosura looks like they're going to make an attempt at it as well.
As a flurry, yes. If the rat tail is where it is. If you complete Tower and you get your hook, and you complete Ordeals and get your Legend Sword, you've got yourself an Excalibur.
So I'm curious, where is the pink tail in this one?
Well, you've got to go to the Lunar Subterrane, go into the one room, you got a 1 in 64 chance of getting a pink puff encounter, and then you beat him, and you get a 1 in 64 chance of getting a pink tail drop.
So something our runners are definitely not going to do. And interesting, Chokosura's Rosa survived the Mega Nuke.
Yeah, now we'll see if like this spot is pretty slow in the Baron Inn. So using Rosa to revive the characters, have the Bruisers attack the Wyvern is a very smart play, because now it's going to be a while before the Wyvern gets the wall up and then start single targeting the nukes. So you can keep up with the healing at this point. So having one person survive basically means that Chokosura's got this fight won.
And luckily, like you said, it's a slow spot. Also fairly low on that HP, even though their characters don't have the best weapons at the moment.
Yeah, it just, if this was in a high speed location, then Chokosura might be struggling to catch up. But because this is so slow, he's got that time to cover. And the fact that Sid is dead in this doesn't even matter, because this is one of those locations that doesn't give XP for it. As long as anybody survives, it's a win.
Exactly. So, and Gitsatella, I don't remember if Chokosura's done ordeals, but not taking the Tella anyways.
I don't believe he has, and I think I don't. I think in most cases, if they don't feel they need the experience from those fights, they're going to avoid it because they know it doesn't lead to any sort of progression up on Mount Ordeals. And we're not starting the game with Cecil, so there's no like real incentive at the beginning to get through there. So really, the only reason to do this is for the experience to get the battle at the top of Mount or Tower of Zot completed.
Most certainly. But as we were saying that, Chokosura does decide to start heading up ordeals. And it looks like we're going to get some double music going on Christopher Warkin's side and Poydrak's side.
Yeah, the other reason to head up to Mount Ordeals is the free lunch character possibility and seeing who that is. Because if you end up finding like a Fusuya up there, then you might want to just take him as well. So there's another small incentive for doing that as well. But I think getting as much experience as you can before fighting the bosses at the top of the Tower Zot does make sense. Like I could totally see if somebody wanted to try to skip them, go up and see who that boss is and see if they can take him on. Like I would understand that. It would be a big gamble though, because if they're not able to take that on, that's just time lost.
Most certainly is.
And now we get to hear a little bit more classic Final Fantasy I battle music.
As performed by our everyone's favorite Spoony Bard.
And that just brings me right back to the childhood.
For certainly. Such a great game, besides the fact all the bugs that Final Fantasy 1 actually has.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that it's so good despite the bugs is the testament. I mean, we're playing Final Fantasy 4. I mean, it's not bug-free. Put it that way.
And these runners are definitely going to probably exploit some of those more popular bugs, such as the life glitch. The only interesting glitch not turned on is actually the castle warp glitch.
Yeah, so unless you're going to cheese through the 64 floor glitch, you've got to complete the dwarf castle to get the Luca key so you can go to the sealed cave.
I wonder if we're going to see any of our runners on screen tonight do the 64 warp glitch.
I don't know enough about the runner's experience with the vanilla speedrun to know if any of them are familiar with the process of getting to the end. So we'll see.
And while we have our runners just kind of covering ground that the others have done, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to our restreamer tonight, Smaped, bringing us this lovely 8-bit rendition, and our tracker, Much Paranoia. Thank you both for your hard work behind the scenes.
Yeah, and also a big shout out to Demarin, who's basically been managing these Monday night community races, and everybody at the Randomania network for letting us have our community races over on their channels. So that's wonderful as well. And it was Demarin who had brought us this seed today, so this was a curated seed.
And none of our runners knew what the seed flag set was going to be until 15 minutes before the start of the race.
Yeah, and for the record, neither did Tarastu or I. We learned this at the same time too. We just did a crash course on figuring out what these flags meant so that we'd be able to communicate that to you. And I saw somebody that was asking about the pass before. We have no pass flags. So the pass is not in a shop, the pass is not in a key item location, and the pass is not in a treasure chest. So what does that mean? No pass.
Means all of our runners tonight are going to be making that walk of shame required. J Money Motos going to be the first to go attempt the Tower of Zot.
Yeah, so we're gonna be the we're gonna see what this boss at the Mega Sister spot, because this is gonna be both the ones at the Mega Sisters and the Valhalla spot are going to be determining how difficult it's going to be to have that underground access. Now, we're watching Forerunners. There are about 17 total people running this, so we don't know if anybody else has decided to forego that Mount Ordeals play to get that experience, or if they've braved the Tower of Zod already.
Looks like J Money Motos is going to be followed fairly closely behind by Chokosura, and definitely knowing where that first trap chest is, going to be some free experience. The Flame Dog, not exactly a scary fight, and gets a Flame Sword for Kane.
Yeah, since the chests are not randomized, that's what you get for beating the Flame Dog in the vanilla game. So that is a pretty good weapon for Kane, though, for the middle part of the run, until they've got access to the Ice Brand or the Blizzard Spear. I mean, these will all be available once we get underground access. Poindrak looting the bottom of Toria Castle. There is some good items down there. The elixir and everything are very useful to get. Again, it's knowing that those are useful is important.
All right. The first boss in Zot, gonna be a Leviathan fight. His Ice 2 spells can be dangerous, and that big wave will take off a quarter of your max HP.
Yeah, this one could be tricky. Having access to both Rosa and Porum can help.
Never gonna complain for a double white mage, and then Rosa does have Berserk. Getting Berserk up, gonna be very helpful.
Yeah, Pause for Workin and Poindrak now also following suit. Not a surprise that all these runners are in very similar spots. Poindrak making a heads-up play to equip Kane with the fire armor before engaging the Flame Dog fight.
Christopher Walken is deciding to loot the rest of the chest in Zot, whereas J Money and Chokosura chose to completely bypass those chests.
Yeah, I believe Questor's about to pick up an Earth Hammer. There it is. Yep.
It's best weapon in the vanilla game.
Yeah, and that's, again, it looks like he's just looting everything there. But if he knew that's where it was located, he could just beeline right to there and get that weapon.
Well, certainly, but you do get some pretty decent gear for this middle part. Got a wizard shirt for Rosa, and of course that Earth Hammer. You can use it as an item to do a Quake spell. While it won't be as powerful as, say, if Rydia was to cast it, but still a useful AoE to have.
Right. About the other items, though, I think, considering since we know what these flags are going to lead, we know we're going to get the Magma Key here, we know we've got the Infinite Money glitch, which means that you're going to have access to Tomra right at the beginning of Tomra and the Fey March right at the beginning of right after completing this, and you're going to have access to all the best gear that you can buy, basically, in the game at that point.
All right. We have our first two runners through their Leviathan fight, picking up an Edward and a Cane. And we did see that Bahamut is going to be in the Golbez spot.
And now we're going to take our first look at the boss in the Valvulus spot. This is going to be the other potential roadblock to underground access behind Leviathan.
And it's the Octomam.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be too tough for our runners. Between all the healing that we have, the access to Berserk, I think the runner should be able to take care of this without too much of a problem.
Certainly will. And on top of that, as you do damage to Octomam, it will eventually start slowing down.
Yeah, that's always a nice thing about the Octomam fight is if you can just, it doesn't even matter how hard you're hitting it. If you hit it often enough, it'll get slower and you can, and a lot more manageable, and you can catch up with the heals a lot easier too. Yeah, I hear what Flurry says in the chat. Surprised not to see an Edward kept. It looks like we do have at least one Edward still over on Quest for Workin' screen. The plan of getting a spoon as soon as we get underground, that's definitely on the table. And it is a duplicatable spoon, which means you can have infinite spoons for Edge to throw. It does seem like a decent strategy, I agree.
This is true. The only drawback, though, is you don't get the adamant armor for Edward. So in that Zeromus fight, he's going to be very squishy, and you don't have easy access to sirens either. You'd have to farm them.
Well, I think in this case, once you've duplicated the spoons for Edge to dart, you can get rid of Edward if you want. So that's another option as well.
Very true. The spoon is an incredible throwing item, and the most deadly weapon in the game, ironically.
It's definitely more powerful than forks and knives, that's for sure. Chokosura and J Money Botas are through and have their magma key. We have underground access.
And definitely going to make a V line for that underground.
Yeah, it's time to open up the underground, the underworld, and we've got access to lots of different places. The Dwarf Castle is going to be the important one because completing that is going to give you the Luca key, which is access to the sealed cave, which will give you your Darkness Crystal, which will give you your access to Zeromus. Now, there's a lot of other places that you could go, a lot of shopping you could do. The Spoon Side quest is open. But if you wanted to, you could get a Excalibur if you want. Although without Cecil, I don't know if we're going to see anybody do that.
It's going to be interesting to see what you get from that Dwarf Castle character.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing that's up in the air as well. Looks like Chokosur is heading right to Tomra. You could buy diamond equipment here, and that's a pretty good armor if he decides to go shopping for equipment. I believe there are charm arrows for sale here, if I recall. It might be mute or poison. I get mixed up as to which one's in which shop.
I don't remember the vanilla game items quite as well as I would like to admit.
Yeah, I think a big question is how many other key items are going to go to? How fast are they going to be able to get to that 10 number of key items if they want to get it?
Chokosura is at 6 key items, and if you did Tower and Dwarf Castle, that would be 3 more, plus the Darkness Crystal. It wouldn't be too hard to get 10 key items fairly easily, depending on bosses, of course.
Right, but tower is a pretty big commitment. That's a long walk up and down the tower. And I did remember correctly, it was the mute arrows. So it was one of my three. Mute, charm, or poison. I knew it was that. I'll take credit for that.
I will definitely give you credit for that. Another interesting thing you can get in Tomra is the tiara, probably one of the best pieces of headgear for the women.
Yeah, specifically for Rydia, Rosa can make some good use out of it, but it's definitely designed to be worn by Rydia.
Chokosura making the dive down into the Fey March.
Yeah, I see Tifa's Revenge say pan and spoon will be quick. It's somewhat quick, but it is double dipping both Sylph and Fool for that. And I don't know how much people are going to want to be doing both of those. Jokosur is going to pick up his rat tail here, though.
Bringing his total to 7. And now has 2 sorcerer robes for that Porum and Rosa.
Yeah, those are great pickups in the land of summon monsters. And now heading over to the weapon shop where the charm arrows are found, but also be able to pick up the long swords for Edge. So pretty nice pickup there as well.
It's going to be probably his best weapon for quite a while.
And we do see J Money Motas is making that play for the spoon, or at least starting that chain.
Poydrak and Christopher Warkin dropping their magma keys now, getting into their underground access. And J Money is going to go grab that pan.
Yeah, I think once you dive Sylph, you're almost committed to that entire sequence. We'll see if he goes back. We do have the... we do not have the rescue... Oh, no, we do have the rescue flag. So you can go and get Edward back and duplicate that spoon if you want. Looks like Christopher Warkin is going to make the play for the spoon as well.
Now, Christopher Warkin, if I'm not mistaken, still has an Edward. I didn't see what he decided to do at Tower of Zot, but makes perfect sense. Get that spoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very powerful play. You get a very powerful Edward who can attack for just garbage loads of damage, and a bunch of spoons that you can dart with Edge, which is great as well. I mean, that's just a couple of powerhouse offensive characters will be great for the rest of the game. Edward's HP does suffer a bit, but as long as you can get him to survive that first big bang when it's nerfed, with the healing that this party has, they should be able to be good from that point on the rest of the fight.
Most certainly, and I mean, you could always just ditch Edward after duplicating the spoon if you so chose, and just focus on throwing it with Edge and get a little bit different party, one that could survive those big bangs easier if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, depending on your playstyle, that might be the smarter move at the end as well. Tifa's Revenge asking about the job dwarf. Haven't seen anybody talk to him, so nobody's doing the right thing as far as I'm concerned. Deployment dwarf, most important NPC in the game.
Certainly agree with you there.
J Money Motas now has hit the Karate Man on the head with the pan, gonna get reward with that Sylph summon, and now can go cash in and get the spoon.
Looks like Chokosura is also doing the spoon trading sequence. Best way to describe that.
Yeah, sure. Well, it looks like J Money Motas is heading up to the tower.
We'll be rewarded with 2 more key items eventually. and would be able to turn in that rat tail for the adamant if they so wanted to get an Excalibur.
Yeah, without access to Cecil, not going to be able to duplicate it for darting, but it is one that they can dart.
Probably just hoping to get a Cecil. It's kind of a gambled idea, but either way, they'll still get a couple more key items, getting closer to that 10 mark.
Yeah, that could be it. It's just a way to get to uptick that key item count. The fact that you're getting the crystal right when you go to Zeramus means that crystal isn't going to be one of the 10 key items for grinding. A lot of times you wait until you're in go mode to grind, because you can wait and count on that crystal as your 10th key item. In this case, you're not going to be able to rely on that one as one of your key items because it's just going to be handed to you right at the end. So finding more key items is important.
Certainly is, and taking advantage of easier to get key items is not a bad idea. Especially when there is no sirens in the seed, getting whatever you can for experience early on is going to be helpful.
And here's another interesting thing. We saw Poydrak opening a bunch of chests in the Land of Summoned Monsters around the during where all the damage tiles are. By knowing which of the chests is the trap chest, since the locations of trap chests are not randomized in this version, you can safely open all the non-warrior chests with impunity.
Chokosura now has their spoon. I wonder if they're going to go grab Edward and duplicate that.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting play. I definitely want to see if anybody's going to make that. Choco's been very heads up with a lot of the plays so far this run, getting that infinite money right away, been going to the best shops to get for gear right away when they're available. So we'll see if he decides to make that play as well. Cassie Moen in the chat asking, how do key items work in this seed? Well, there's no K flag, so all the key items are in their vanilla location.
So it does create some interesting routing choices because you're going to know where all your key items are, but it's which ones do you want to pick up? Because realistically, you just need the Magma key, and then to do Dwarf Castle to get the Luca key to get the Darkness Crystal. That's it.
Yeah, and you'll be given the crystal when you head to Zeramus, so you don't need to hunt for that.
Top of Tower has a Val.
Yeah, that could be dangerous, but I think in that spot, especially with Kane in the party, they should be okay with this fight.
Kane does make Valvalis a lot easier, and unfortunately I don't do the tower too much, so I'm not as familiar with its HP, but I know it's not not a very scary spot.
Yeah, it's not a very scary spot. It is a very high HP spot, though, since you've got all the Luge fights together with that HP. So it is pretty serious as far as how high the HP is. But the rest of it, the physical attack power is not. It's not low, but it's not like a lot higher than you would expect for a boss in that area either.
Certainly makes sense.
So Choco didn't go back and get that Edward. So that's interesting. Quest of Reward is about to get the spoon, and so we're going to see if he decides to duplicate that spoon, which would be awesome. I do love seeing the spoons. And looks like we've got some vanilla dolls.
Going to be a little bit interesting. A lot of strategy with the dolls is usually throw an hourglass to stop the Calbreñas, at least the cows.
Yeah, I think Choco's using another strategy. The AoE attack is generally a good way to handle him as well. Looks like it doesn't quite finish off the Brenas, which is probably a good thing. Now, when it gets around to Edge's turn again, another flame will probably be, or excuse me, another flam will probably be able to take out all of the monsters that are left.
Most certainly. And we do know the boss that's going to be behind the Calbrinas because they did already do Zot. We know that they're going to run into a Bahamut after this.
Yeah, that Bahamut should not be too difficult. It's a pretty low HP spot, all things considered. And so they should be able to get enough time with these bruisers that they've got in the party to defeat Bahamut before he gets the Mega Nuke off.
Very true. That I believe it's only like a 4,000 or 8,000 HP spot. It's pretty simple considering Golbez is there and he's one of the big villains of the game. I don't know.
And here we see well, I think there we are. Yeah, we see Quest for Work has completed the item duplication glitch on the spoons. He actually has 2 Edwards in his party currently, both equipped with a spoon, and an Edge who can dart the rest of them. So he's got one of the spooniest parties around right now.
You get a spoon, and you get a spoon, and everyone's gonna get a spoon today.
Poitrek going for some trapped chest in the sealed cave. Luckily, he hit the Toad Lady and Tiny Toads, which is, even at 1 HP, is a safe fight. Yeah, Flurry is saying Poitrek might be aware of exactly where the Avenger is, and is getting that. Because the Avenger is located in Stealth Cave.
That's a really amazing item, especially if you have a cane on your party. Oh yeah, give me an Avenger.
Yeah, this is making very good use of the knowledge of the vanilla game.
See, J Money still on that Valvalis fight.
Yeah, it's not a tough fight, but it is a high HP fight.
Chokosura now has their Luca key. Probably, I don't know if they're going to make a V-line for that sealed cave. That's a pretty dangerous area at this point.
Choco might be heading for that Avenger sword too.
Looks like they're going to do a little bit of grinding first.
Yeah, either that or has something that he wants to duplicate.
And we see Christopher Walken, they are choosing to loot out that Baron Castle or Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. It's especially once you get to the underworld, most of the looting places, even though we don't have J items here, you get access to some pretty decent stuff in there.
Oh, most certainly. No, there's a strength ring and an elixir that he's already picked up.
Looks like we might have a little bit of technical issues over on J Money Motas, but one thing I wanted to think, like, Poitrek is making this play for the Avenger. However, because of the lack of equipment and everything that we've got so far, this Toad Lady Tiny Toad fight has turned out to be quite a bit more difficult than I think he wanted it to be.
I don't know if difficult's really the word for it. I would venture to say more annoying.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's not dangerous. They can't hurt you. All they do is cast Toad. But with all those Toads being cast, it means the damage that you're getting is interrupted quite frequently.
Might take quite a while with just 1 damage, but does manage to get most of his party untoaded.
Okay, it looks like we do have J Money Motas back, and it looks like he's walking the tower. So it looks like he's completed that Valvulus fight, and what would be the Dark Imps in the Super Cannon room. So he's going to be getting his hook.
believe that brings him up to 9 key items, if I'm counting it right.
Yeah, I think that's also. I also think that's right.
And we
Choco making that the first to make that dive into the sealed cave.
probably starting to feel comfortable. Might kill a couple of trapdoors if he really needs some extra experience on his way down. But Chocosaur is a really good runner at this and probably will ignore them.
Yeah, I think they might be a little bit too. Like you don't want to deal with them if you don't have to. Okay, so J Money Motas picked up the spoon, which will be his 10th key item. So now he's in double experience mode.
Might do a little bit of quick touch-up grinding and then dive Dwarf Castle and Luca, or something along those lines would be my guess.
That would definitely be logical based on what he's done before heading to Dwarf. He might just want the double experience for these two fights as well. Because especially that second fight, what's going to be the Bahamut fight, gives a pretty good chunk of experience for this part of the game. And having that being doubled is nice.
We see it on Christopher Warken's side. They do have a Cecil now.
No, that's another interesting thing. Having J Money Motas having completed that, he has completed Mount Ordeals. He has completed Tower, so he's got Hook and Legend Sword, and he's got the Rat Tail, so he could go and get an Excalibur once he sees Cecil here. That's going to be very interesting.
Certainly will be. That Excalibur, one of the best weapons in the game for Cecil. I believe is second best behind Crystal.
Yeah, it's going to be the second best weapon for him, so that's going to be very, very interesting to see if he does this. Looks like Plague is the boss at the bottom of the sealed cave. So we're going to see if Chocosura's got the ability to take this boss out right now.
Could be a little rough, especially if you really aren't comfortable with that Plague fight. While not dangerous damage-wise, you have to either be able to DPS it out before the count goes down, or know how to manipulate it so he's constantly casting count on you.
Yeah, Choco taking a reset here. Didn't like the strategy that he was using at that point. Going to try something different this time around.
That's a fairly nasty spot to have the Plague fight at.
And it does look like Choco wants to get into some grind fights, but I believe he's going to be a bit upset. I don't believe there's any random encounters on that floor.
I believe you're correct. I don't recall there being random encounters on the last 2 floors of the sealed cave.
Yeah, he's going to have to go to the room before the save point in order to get random encounters. Now he should be good to grind.
I love it. On J Money's side, we see that his Porum is hit with the charm status, so they're standing on the bar.
And Chocosura is seeing why you don't want to do a grind in a sealed cave as the Weirbatch come in.
And we have our first finisher, Simbu, done with a time of 57 minutes and 50 seconds. GG to him.
Yeah, big GG's to Simbu. Very, very nicely done.
See, having that spoon would probably actually make that Plague fight significantly easier if you were to duplicate it and throw it with Edge, and even have an Edward there swinging away with it.
That, that could be a way to DPS it out. If you've got an Edge starting a bunch of spoons and having two Edwards, but this is a fight where Edward's low HP count really doesn't mean anything. It's a-okay that he doesn't have much HP, because Plague doesn't deal HP damage. It's just that count.
I see what Chokosura was setting up. He wasn't so much looking to grind, just kill off the Porum so he can resurrect her and restart the count. Keep her at low HP and keep killing her off and reviving her.
Yeah, that's a solid way of going. If you enter the battle with a character down, then you have enough time to revive her, so that Plague will reset that count. You get that Berserk going, so that you get the DPS done. So yeah, this is a pretty solid strategy for Chokosura, I must say.
There's several very interesting strategies you can do against Plague, and this is a very common one for people to do.
Yeah, I think when Chokosura entered the fight, the first time he had to see, like, how is my damage doing relative to how fast the count is going down. And so weighing those options, he's like, okay, I've got to do something different, and we're going to start it this way. And now the count has been reset, and now hopefully there's going to be plenty of damage done before the count runs out.
Certainly. J Money does have their Luca key now. Looks like they're going to go get that Adamant, I would guess, and give Cecil an Excalibur.
Yeah, since he's got the opportunity to do that, he might as well, because then that'll just make everything for the rest of the season. Like, Christopher Warkin made the play with the Edward Spoon play, and this is kind of J Money's counter to that, is getting this Excalibur right now.
We also see Christopher Warkin gonna start their Plague fight.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting because he's definitely got more DPS with these spoons than Choco has. So he might not need to do the same strategy that Choco did, because look at that dart doing 8,000 damage right off the bat from Edge. So just a couple turns with Edge, and this fight's over.
Most certainly will be. But Chokosura does finish the Plague fight, has their Darkness Crystal, so they are realistically in go mode. Probably wants to get a couple levels for Zeromus on the way down, maybe collect a little bit of gear, but otherwise ready to go.
Oh yeah, he's good to go, and he's got the 10 key items, so he can grind whatever he wants for that. And we see J Money Motas did make the play back into Mysidia to re-pick up that Cecil and get that, well, he's got the Legend Sword right now, but he's going to change that into an Excalibur once he goes to Kokol's Forge.
Most certainly will. It's one of the best weapons you can have, and if you wanted to, you could just duplicate that Excalibur and have that for throwing weapons.
Exactly, so that's what, when I say it counters Christopher Spoon play, this is the other really good darting weapon that you can have in the game. Like the Spoon and the Excalibur are going to be your best two choices for darts. So having access to that is going to make that Plague fight pretty trivial, just like it did for Christopher Warkin there.
All right, Chokosura activating the big whale. We see Poydrak now taking on their Bahamut fight. Gonna get their Cecil if they choose to take him.
Yeah, again, this is gonna be an interesting choice. Like, I think it made the most sense for J Money Motas with having access to already completed the tower. For anybody else, it's like, well, I've got decent enough equipment, but what I've got is pretty much as good for Kane as it is for Cecil. So it kind of depends on, would you rather have Cecil or would you rather have Kane? And I don't think either one is right or wrong. Kind of what you prefer.
Interesting. He did decide to switch out the Kane for Cecil, and Chokosura probably going to change out some character. Switching Edge for Tella.
So we might be looking at a potential D-machine grind to get set up to do reflect strategy against the Zeramis fight.
An interesting choice.
We do have access to the MP underflow glitch, which means that for the yeah, he's heading to the giant. So yeah, that's what it looks like. So for this grind fight, the fact that Tella only has 90 MP is not going to be an issue because you can underflow as, so he's got basically as much MP as you need for this fight. Choco's going to be able to grind as many D machines as he needs, and with the characters that he just picked up, with that Rydia that he just picked up, I believe it was a level 1 Rydia, is going to get the extra bonus, probably for the catch-up mechanic as well. So he's going to get, or is that flag even on? Let me double check.
It is on.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we got the low. We do have the low level. So, so he's going to be able to slingshot Rydia real quick, get her to learn nuke, and be able to have that available for the final fight. A quest for Warkin is heading right to the lunar subterranean.
Now, Christopher Warkin did duplicate that spoon, so does have those for throwing with edge, along with that. I believe he has 2 Edwards in his party, so a lot of DPS available for him.
Yeah, and so it looks like he went right to a Warlock carry fight. He might know which are the trap chests that are going to be the easiest for him to take care of, to get the experience that he wants for the rest of the run.
Not only experience, but some gear that could help out his party as well.
Yeah, and especially if you're going to be doing this in the lunar spring, what once again it goes back to that knowledge of the vanilla game going to be a big help in this run.
But still, does take quite a bit of damage from these carries.
Yeah, these Warlock and carries at low levels, and since we have no access to hourglasses on the feed, are pretty tough. Luckily, those spoons can deal quite a bit of damage in a short amount of time.
An interesting J Money choosing to do a little bit of a trapdoor grind.
Yeah, that's, if you're not going to... The advantage that J Money has going into Sealed Cave is J Money had completed that tower first, and so hit that 10 key items before going there, unlike Chokosura and Quest for Warped had. So if anybody is going to make advantage of the door play, it's going to be J Money Motas.
Oh, and Christopher Warkin takes a wipe. Hasn't saved since Sealed Cave.
Yeah, that's gonna be unfortunate. He was in a pretty good situation, but didn't have the right preparation for the moon bosses, so that's gonna cost him quite a bit of time.
It certainly will, and it looks like doesn't even have the darkness crystal anymore. That's going to cost even more time.
Yeah, he's gonna have to refight this this door here, or evil wall, I should say. Motas is fighting doors. Warkin's fighting walls. It looks like Chokosura might be in that all-important Searcher Beamer fight. If everything is done right, once this is done, it should be D-machines that he finds.
One of the most annoying things about those ropes, as we saw on Poydrak's side, if you just happen to walk next to them, you're either climbing up it or down it.
Yeah, it gets me so often that you just accidentally walk on the tile right next to the rope, and suddenly, like, Oh, you stepped on the tile next to a rope? That must mean you want to go down the rope. This floor that Motas is on right now, right at the beginning. I can't tell you how many times I've actually gone down that one.
I could tell you, but I'd rather not embarrass myself in front of so many viewers. Chokosura tried to set up for a double life glitch, doesn't quite get it.
Yeah, the double lights are tough to time right, but at least he got one.
See Poidrak starting up their first plague fight.
And it looks like Questover this time has turned on random encounters for the walkout, getting some trapdoors on the way out, and access to a little bit more experience, maybe to make it so that that Warlock carry fight that he was in isn't as dangerous, and hopefully he'll make a safety save on the moon this time.
Let's hope so. Does have the spoon, so trapdoor is not going to be too tough to kill really fast.
Yeah, being able to kill the trapdoors before a monster appears, and especially if you could do it before the Dimension 9 hits, makes it so much more appealing to hit these doors.
As you can see, doing max damage with chucking spoons at a door.
Yeah, so that's a lot of really easy experience to get there, so I can't blame him for wanting to do that. Now, the other question is, I'm sure he's keeping track, but how many how many dragons is Choco going to be fighting here?
I don't know. And we have our first forfeit, Carmaken. Unfortunately for me, I am not as familiar with the D machine grind as I am some of the other grinding spots, only because to me it seems like it's a little bit inconvenient to go there to do it.
It can be, but it's general. If you know what you're doing, it's relatively safe, and it's just a really easy way to get a lot of experience in one go.
Oh, most certainly is. And Tifa pointing out something just to keep in mind, J spells are not on, so you only have to get Rydia to 50 instead of 55 for that nuke spell. It looks like Chokosura is going to be done with their D machine grind.
Yep, and the Searcher falls. I think it was a little over 1 million experience that he got.
Yep. Rosa has white. Porum has white. And I couldn't see how many levels Rydia just gained.
I think that was 86. Oh, 66.
So Rydia is a little bit absurd now.
I think Chokosura is a little bit absurd. This party is insane.
Certainly won't have too much trouble with that Zeromus fight.
Yeah, now Choco needs to just get out of the giant, head over to the big whale, and back to and head to the moon and head down. Might want to make a pit stop and get rid of Tella. Don't know whether or not he wants Tella. Might just pick up Edge again. Might be happy with Tella. Just use him as an anchor in the middle too. Whatever he wants to do, I think he's going to be okay.
The Z fight is his oyster in this case.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And we see Poidrak deciding to take on the Baron fight and get that Tella.
Yeah, he might be thinking of the same plan as Chokosura to do that D-Machine grind. I don't know if he'd seen that Wyvern yet, though. Looks like Rydia survived, so he should be good for this. Oh, and it didn't even do enough damage to kill Edge, so very simple here.
And the Wyvern fight is down.
It looks like he got Eddie back so that he could use that spoon in the final battle.
All right, Christopher Warkin, looks like they finished their trapdoor grind, activating their big well for the second time.
Yeah, with the extra levels, if he decides to go for those Warlocks and Carries again, he shouldn't have any problem with it, hopefully. But let's still hope he makes a safety save. Looks like heading to Fabul for Poidrak to pick up that spoon as well.
So at this point, I believe all our runners have their darkness crystals. All of them are in go mode. It's just who's going to feel most comfortable to go take on the Zeromus fight. We know Chokosura is ready to go.
Yeah, Choco did a big grind. We know J Money Motas and Christopher Warkin both have edges with either a pile of Excaliburs or a pile of spoons to throw. They've got a lot of offense that they've got.
Which would mean less grinding necessary. You'll have the DPS for that Z fight.
Right. And with Rosa available at the beginning, they've got a great healer. So the grinding shouldn't be too much. Oh, J Money accidentally spinning on a rope. Walking out of the sealed cave is a little bit trickier than people think, just because people are used, I think, at least for me, and I think a lot of other runners, get so used to walking down there and using warp to get out that they don't really think about the actual routing of walking out of the sealed cave.
I almost never have a Fu, Tella, Palom, or Rydia for the sealed cave, so I always end up walking out, so I forget that you can warp out. But we see both Chokosura and Christopher Warkin V-lining it straight to that Z fight. J Money activating their darkness crystal now.
Yeah, and Poidrax it looks like he's right outside the Lunar Pass. Looks like he wants a little bit of grinding, gonna fight those hair dryers and probably try to life glitch them to get as much experience out of this fight as possible.
And interesting, we see Christopher Warkin going to that Wyvern spot, wants to grab the crystal sword for their Cecil.
Yeah, well, he's gonna have even more DPS at that point.
Certainly will, but I don't know if it's really needed or necessary in this case.
It might not be, but it's sure gonna be fun.
Oh, it'll certainly make the Z fight very quick.
Yeah.
And runs into the elements.
Yeah, at this point with those spoons, I don't think there's going to be many bosses that are going to be too much of a problem for him.
Oh, this shouldn't be too tough of a fight at all for him.
But yeah, considering Questford didn't make the same play Motas made to get that Excalibur, and he does have Cecil, he didn't make a play to get the Avenger or anything like that either. So it kind of does make sense that he wants to get a better weapon for him. I agree that I don't think it's necessary because of the other characters and the amount of damage that they can do. But this does make Cecil a lot more useful for that final battle.
It certainly does, and no one's ever going to be upset with a little bit of overkill. But Chokosura entering that Z fight. So, the question on everyone's mind today, whose butt are we going to be kicking? And if it's not Chaos, I'm going to be kind of upset.
We do have the Z flag, so it is going to be a randomized Z fight. Yep, it is butt time. I am pretty hyped for this. Let's see who we got.
So am I. All of this has been pre-chosen, so...
A lot of good guesses in the chat.
I knew it was going to be Chaos. Chaos must go.
We got the wall up, getting ready for those reflect strats. Gonna proc that first counter nuke.
And it goes on to probably the second best character you could hope for it in the Sid instead of their Porum.
Yeah, the hitting the reflect would be the best, but Sid's a nice target. He can take that hit without any problem.
And to answer your question, Simbu, he chose to give up Edge for the Rydia to slingshot her.
Yeah, and for the record, Simbu, Choco didn't duplicate spoons or Excaliburs, so he didn't have a big stack of things to dart.
We see Jay Money and Christopher Warkin. They're taking on the Rubicons, and unfortunately I didn't see the spot that he was in.
I think this is the Ribbons fight? D-Lunars, yeah. Simbu confirming it's the D-Lunars spot. This is a lot of experience in this location, and it gives access to 2 ribbons for the final fight. So,
Ribbon's gonna give you some amazing magic defense.
Yeah, one of the best pieces of armor. I mean, it's no adamant armor, but it's still a very good piece of armor to have for the Zeramis fight. And Poydrak now in the Lunar Subterrane as well. And both Motas and Questwork getting through that fight and getting their ribbons.
Will certainly make the Z fight that much easier, even though they already have a gigantic stack of throwing weapons.
Yeah, and these reflected magic are doing so much damage against Chaosimus. This is going to be over really soon.
And there's the flash. Chokosura coming in second place with a time of 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 54 seconds. GG.
Big GG's to Chokosura, second place overall in this race. Very nicely done. And we'll see if Choco wants to come in for an interview here.
Meanwhile, we see both Christopher Warkin and J Money Motos making their run straight to the Z fight.
Yeah, and it looks like Poydrek is going to be following Christopher's lead and wants to pick up that crystal sword, because I believe he doesn't have the duplicate spoons or either, does he? Or did he duplicate them and I missed it?
I don't recall him duplicating anything at this point. I could be mistaken. Yeah, he still has the legend sword, and I don't see any spoons. He has a single spoon and he's darting it now.
Oh, he's using it now.
And we are joined by Chokosura. GG.
Thank you, thank you.
So you had a pretty powerful Rydia there. Were you expecting her to be quite that level after your D machine?
I accidentally did more than I was supposed to. I was only supposed to kill 6 because she was, level 1, but I killed 12 by accident. Oops.
Yeah, well, I mean, it did make things pretty easy at the end, but
yeah, definitely.
So there was a lot of things that were open for you. What were your thoughts of this kind of vanilla-like seed?
Oh my goodness, this seed definitely surprised me because my vanilla knowledge of this game is like next to none. After playing so much Free Enterprise, I forgot where pretty much everything was in the trap chests and whatnot. So that's really why I didn't try to go for any of the trap chests. Yeah, I also did some things I probably shouldn't have, like did a couple of randoms in the beginning. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw you getting. Was that just like a little bit of a grind that you're doing at that point? I know at the very beginning you did the duplication glitch, but you did a couple randoms outside of that as well.
Yeah, I caught myself trying to level my team before trying to dive Magnus Cave, but I realized that was not going to work. So I figured I might as well, hit up easier spots like Hobbs.
Right. Yeah, and then you did the Hobbs. You did like Mount Ordeals and everything like that.
Yeah, and then once I saw Tella, I figured, okay, I'm doing reflex stress, 100%. I just needed go ahead.
Oh, so it was basically when you saw that Tella was available in that Baron Inn, and you're like, okay, I'm all in. So you didn't think about, because we saw some other runners doing like duplicating spoons, duplicating Excaliburs for Edwards and Dart, but you're like, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is
what I didn't even think about all that. I wasn't thinking about duplicating spoons or duplicating any sort of high-end weapon. I saw Tella. I wanted to do reflex strats. I just needed a team to carry me through the game.
Well, I know those reflex strats were a hero for some of our viewers.
So, and you were, as far as that team, you were gifted Edge right at the top. So was that made the early part of the seed a lot better, or?
Oh, definitely. I knew that I could give him dancing daggers right at the start. I knew what that was in this village.
Remembered that from Vanilla, yes.
Yeah, probably one of the only things I remember about Vanilla. So I figured I would put those dancing daggers on him and just let him do his work.
I did think that you did. You at least used some good knowledge. You went to Silvera once you had already done your money glitch. And so you got the good equipment there. Once you went Underworld, you did the shopping in the right places there. So I thought, as far as like equipment, now maybe with the chests and stuff, you might not have done it, but it seemed like with the gear, you had the right idea.
Yeah, I knew about some of the shops. Yeah. Definitely the Silvera shop and the Underworld shops. I knew about all that. But yeah, like you said, as far as the chests, I had no clue. I forgot. I knew there was I know there's a full moon somewhere in a trap chest. I forgot where it was. So
yeah, I think the trap chest that might have been the most advantageous to a lot of our runners might have been for the Avenger in the Silk Cave.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was in there, but I forgot which chest, and I didn't feel like taking the time to go look for it.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I don't think anybody, after doing all what we do in that 2v2 and any other places where you're looking for a trap chest, you don't want to open chests in the Silk Cave if you don't.
Oh no, especially since there were no J items to use hourglasses, and yeah, I was not about to mess with those.
Well, I also want to say congratulations on how well you did in the World Series.
Oh, thank you.
So
I'll take my second place and run with it.
Yeah, you did very good in that. So I definitely wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
Did you have any other final thoughts about the seed today, or the? How about this? How about I ask you, did you enjoy the 8-bit theme today?
I did. That took me for a surprise. I logged onto the Discord this afternoon. I was reading about it, and I haven't actually tried to see it out yet. So I figured let's see what everyone's talking about. So yeah, it definitely was a nice touch. I like the 8-bit. Felt like I was playing Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, I think Chaos at the end really added to that too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Any other final thoughts tonight?
No, not really. Well, I wish I could have done my early game just a little bit better, but other than that,
Hey,
really.
well, you got second place, and I think that's pretty good too.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'll take it.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Chokosura, and thanks for letting us watch your race tonight.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
All right.
You guys take care.
All right, so that's Chokosura. Make sure you give him a follow. Did a very good job today, and I believe we've got another finisher, right?
Yes, we've had 2 more finishers in that time. Kate Sith 2 coming in 3rd place at a time of 1:26:39, and we saw on stream J Money Motos coming in 4th with a time of 1:29:27. And we did also see that Christopher Warkin did take a wipe to that Z fight.
Yeah, but he's back in there now, so hopefully everything will go better this time. And we'll see if we can get J Money Motos in for an interview as well. And it looks like Poydrak is in that fight against Rubicant for those ribbons as well. It's also, as stated before, a very good place to get a chunk of experience. Experience is usually doled out in the chunks. And I believe we are joined by J Money Botas. J Money, GG's on your run tonight.
GG.
Wow, thank you.
So the one thing that I thought was notable about your run that the other runners that at least that we were able to see didn't take advantage of is you completed the Tower of Babel to get that hook, and you were able to duplicate that Excalibur. So I just wanted to ask you what your thoughts were about this seed and why you decided to make that play to get your damage in.
Okay, so first off, I gotta give props to Demery because when I saw that this was vanilla key item locations, I about flipped. I had to like go through my brain because I've not ever played with vanilla key items, so I had to like reach back. But my thinking was I wanted to have 10 key items before I went to Sealed Cave. So really, I wasn't even thinking about the Excalibur dupe. I was just going for key items at the time, and then I realized once I got back up top, oh crap, I have Cecil now, which is why I went back to get him, even though I had ditched him before at Dwarf Castle.
Sure. No, I totally get that, and it was a way that you could do a grind on your way to a place that you knew was going to be a key item, right?
Yeah, and I knew it would make the door fights go really fast if I had the Excalibur duped. And to be honest, when I saw that whoever finished first finished, I was like getting really worried because I was ready for everybody else to start finishing, but then it wasn't happening. So I was like, well, maybe I am doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, Simbu did crush everybody today, without a doubt. But we weren't privy to what he was doing. We only saw who were the 4 that we were in, and Chokosura was the person on stream that we saw who completed the 2nd place, but you were far behind Chokosura, all things considered, just 7 minutes. So that's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, this is the closest in like a streamed race that I've ever gotten to players like Choco and like who finished second or third. Kate Sith,
Kate
two
Sith, yeah.
finished third. So like, I feel really good about that, especially on such weird flags that most of us don't practice that much. I'm definitely pretty excited about how I did.
Now, do you have a lot of knowledge about the vanilla game? Did that help you here? Or I know I threw you for a loop at the beginning, but were you able to compose yourself? Or did you just like remember the key items and just like, I'm gonna do this, whatever I have to do?
Yeah, the one thing I messed up was I went to Fabul and I didn't really have to. For some reason, I was thinking that I could still get a key item there, but I mean, I did get EXP, but at the end result, it was probably a waste of time, and it probably cost me third place to do that.
Yeah, that was one of the. I think that was one of the that I probably caught a lot of runners off guard, because people are so used to that being a really early play to get a key item, and when you get that black sword there, you're like, oh yeah, that's what I get in the vanilla game, isn't it?
Well, and I also checked some armories, thinking I need to get some money to at least buy cabins and lives.
Yeah.
But I really didn't have to. Like, Troya Armory was cool, but like I really didn't need that bow for Rosa. Like, I probably opened more treasure chests than I had to. And honestly, my plan, if I hadn't already gotten the levels I needed from doors, was going to be to not open any chests for equipment until I was on the moon.
And just get the best stuff that's available in chests, sure. Yeah.
Especially since I'd already seen like some hard bosses that I kind of noped out of on the world, so I knew there had to be some easy bosses left on the moon, although I didn't try any of them except for the ribbon chests. But it's a good thing I did too, because the first Big Bang was a really high roll and almost killed both my white mages, right?
So tell me also what you think about the 8-bit theme today.
Oh man, I loved it. I saved a couple of seeds earlier today once everybody started saying, hey, there's something weird today. I saved a couple to play later because I'm in love. It was great.
You and me both, man.
I think everyone's really enjoying the 8-bit season. I'm looking forward to playing some later.
Do you have any other final thoughts tonight?
I mean, I probably over-leveled a little bit, but once I was in my Z fight, I was kind of glad because it didn't go great, to be honest. I got caught off guard with the first Big Bang, and it's only because I leveled quite a lot extra that my Rosa was able to survive. So I thought I made a mistake, but I didn't, and I'm glad. So.
All right. Well, GG's, thanks for talking to us, and thanks for letting us watch your race tonight. J Money Botas.
Thank you all, and of course, thanks to the Restreamer Tracker and YouTube for commentating today. It's always we've had a gauntlet of events, and everybody working behind the scenes has been really great.
All right. Well, that's J Money Motas. Make sure everybody gives him a follow. He's been doing great. And I believe we're also joined by Christopher Warkin. Christopher, GG's.
GG.
GG.
You ended up pretty good in 5th place, but what could have been? You had a couple of kind of untimely wipes there, and
yeah.
After that Warlock carry, we felt so bad when we found out how far back that save was.
Yeah, that was brutal. My first thought was expletive deleted.
Yeah, I believe that. But you picked yourself up, and we noticed it looked like you were doing some like the doors that you had skipped on the way up, and using that spoon to get that experience on the way up.
Yeah, that really saved my bacon.
Yeah. So tell me what you thought of this this seed and this really unorthodox flag set that we had.
Well, yeah, the flag set, calling it unorthodox is not quite doing it justice. Like I heard J Money say, these are flags nobody ever plays. I mean, ever. So having this thrown at us was kind of a blast to the past. Of oh shoot, where is everything? Because I used to play this game so much as a kid.
I think a lot of us played this game a lot as kids, and we play so much Randomizer, you just can't remember what the shops have.
Yeah, so I just said, you know what? to heck with the shops. They're not going to do me any good. I don't think there was anything good in any of the shops anyway, other than the couple of cabins I needed in the Feymarch.
You did make one play that really helped you out, though, and that was duplicating those spoons. Like, how soon, like, was it when you saw Edward that you thought that you're going to do this? Or was it as soon as when you saw the start with Edge? How did you decide that that was going to be, like, your big damage plan?
As soon as I saw the first Edward, and when I saw the second Edward, I'm like, wait a minute, are we allowed dupe characters? We are. I'm gonna go Mega Spoonward. Too bad he didn't survive the first big, the second Big Bang, but in that case, just throw spoons. Problem solved.
It's always a pleasure to throw spoons at the Zeromas fight.
Yeah, the more
It's a
damage,
pleasure
the
to throw a spoon at anything.
Yeah, and you threw a lot of spoons this season, so that's great. We definitely appreciated seeing at least one of our runners do that. So that was
Was
great.
I the only one to pull that strat?
Yeah, you're the only one to do that. J Money Motas duplicated Excaliburs and used that as the throwing weapon, and Chokasura went and did a D machine grind to do reflex strategy. And
See, I never checked a lot of the character slots, but I never found a black mage, so that kind of put reflex strats off the table.
yeah, he had found a Rydia and a Tella, so he had Rydia, Rosa, Porum, and Tella. So
Yeah, I knew where Tella was, but that's what I gambled first thing, thinking, ooh, exit mage, this will make life easy. Wyvern.
yeah, yeah, that was a pretty rude boss right out of it.
But it was nice to see it there because I knew I wouldn't have to deal with it in a real key location, such as Luca Cave or Tower of Zod or any of the quote unquote required chain.
So what did you think about the 8-bit theming today?
At first, I thought there was a problem with my emulator because I'm sitting there going, this doesn't look right, something's off. And it took Simbu telling me that in the SRL chat before the race that nothing's wrong, it's the April Fool's thing. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I forgot today was the first.
All right. Do you have any final thoughts on the race tonight?
Yeah, it was a bunch of fun. Obviously, as J Money and I'm sure Chokasura said, thank you to everyone behind the scenes. We've had a metric carp ton of events the last 2 months, so I've tried to do my fair share of volunteering, but the people that keep doing it, props to you guys.
Well, thank you for talking to us, and thank you for letting us watch you run, and GG's tonight, Christopher Workin.
GG's. I'll get you guys later. Work.
GG.
All right, make sure you give Christopher a follow too. As you can tell, a very fun person to watch run. So there we go. Now we've got Just Poydrak here coming in. Had made a run back to Sylph Cave. Did he pick up that Avenger?
I don't recall seeing them pick up the Avenger. They probably did. One thing I did see them do though, they went to Troya and tried to buy a pass.
Oh, really? Went to the pass shop. Nothing. Was there just nothing there?
It was nothing there.
Wow.
And during those interviews, we did have a sixth place finisher and Maggie the Cat with a time of 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 53 seconds. So GG.
Yeah, GG's to Maggie. Maggie does a lot of behind-the-scenes work, a lot of tracking, so very good to see them do very good in this race tonight. GG's to Maggie.
All right, and it looks like Poydrak's going to start making their run to the Z fight. And during this run, let's give another shout out to, once again, our restreamer, Smapedy tonight. Definitely doing a really good job behind the scenes. And of course, Much Paranoia taking care of tracking, making sure we can keep track of where the vanilla items are and know who's got what.
Yeah, these people who work behind the scenes, make sure you give them a follow. They do a lot of good work here, making sure that these events come live. Make sure, also big thanks to Demerin too, who did the who curated this wonderful flag. It was really fun to watch tonight, and of course everybody over at the Randomania Network who allows us to have our Monday night community race on their network of channels, and it's been it's always a blast to have our Monday night races over here on Randomania.
Oh, it's great fun to have our rando races here on Randomania, and it's always a pleasure to see all these different runners showcase all sorts of different seeds for us.
And it's always great on a run like this where we see so many different strategies for what seems to be like, if you say it's kind of a vanilla-ish seed, you'd think you'd see like vanilla, but we saw all sorts of different things. Like we saw Excaliburs, we saw spoons, we saw Reflect, and now we have a toad walking down to Zeramis right now.
You don't get to see that every day. And we do have another forfeit, Marth SR. But being a toad on your way down to the Z fight doesn't matter, because as you can see, you get a free heal just before it.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't need to heal before it. It'll also heal status effects like Toad.
And it looks like Poidrak's going to go with a little bit of a hybrid strat compared to the others.
Yeah, considering he doesn't have the DPS of the spoons or Excaliburs to dart, nor does he have the extra levels from doing that D-Machine grind, doing something hybrid makes perfect sense here.
But I think his Rydia and Porum's levels are a little too low. I'm not certain he has Nuke.
He might be, like, if he's got that Avenger, he might just go straight Berserk with Cecil and Edge, and just not worry about the life of Porum or Rydia, and just heal up with Rose.
Very likely.
I think like if you can do a little bit of reflected magic in the middle there, that wouldn't be bad, but I don't think it's necessary.
I agree. It's going to be a little low on the DPS, and we have a 7th place finisher, Neon Gray, coming in with a time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 47 seconds. GG.
And we see Cecil change from the Crystal Sword to the Avenger, so it should be a nice, strong Berserk that he's got here. And correctly nerf that Big Bang. Gonna do the heal after this. The one thing that could be a problem is his Rosa only has about 2100 HP, so that's a little bit on the low side of surviving a full-powered Big Bang, which is often what you need to do when it comes to pure Berserker strategy. If he picked up that ribbon, that will help him a bit.
He did pick up the ribbons, so he's right at that cusp for HP. It'll just depend on the rolls for the Big Bangs. We also have an 8th place finisher in Nitsky1 with a time of 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 51 seconds. GG.
Okay, it looks like if he was trying to nerf another Big Bang with this, a little early. So this might be a dangerous spot that that Poidrak is in right here. Luckily, the counter nuke hit Rydia, who is expendable at this fight for sure.
Most certainly is. Doesn't have nuke. really can't use summons even if you got something you would like, because he's just going to counterattack them. And
Okay,
we'll
so
see what happens.
Yeah, this Big Bang might be what makes or breaks this run. And look at only 1,400 damage to Rosa, so she's well safe. Get that Cure 4 out. She should be able to, like from here, with the damage that Cecil is doing on his attacks. I mean, Edge is hitting for 2,000, which is okay, but this is really the story of Cecil, with that crystal into the Avenger, being able to do that damage. And this black hole isn't going to affect him, because with that Avenger, the auto berserk is still going to be on.
Oh, most certainly. Will depend on the DPS, but I think they should be fine from this point on.
But it also depends on how fast Zeramus is with the Anchor of Porum on this one. Zeramus is pretty fast right here, it looks like, so that might be what's different, might cause this problem. Because here we see another Big Bang right now.
Yeah, I believe around these levels, Porum's agility is like 26 or 27, you know, fairly high and not at that 28 break point.
But luckily, even at 12 HP remaining, Rosa stays alive. And I think that ribbon is saving her right now.
It's most definitely doing work, but like we said, that is a very fast Chaosmus.
Yeah, and having to reapply berserks so that Edge is eating up turns. Here we see the single target nuke, so we know we're in the second phase at this point.
Second phase is going to feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit safer in theory, but a rogue nuke followed by a Big Bang not being healed on time could cause or could spell disaster.
Well, with that phase change, I think we're going to be okay, because we've got that nuke. We haven't seen another shake yet.
And
we're in the meadow phase. And yeah, from here it should be academic.
pretty much. And there's the flash. GG to Poydrak coming in 9th place with a time of 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 54 seconds.
GG's to Poydrak there. And we'll see if he wants to come in to talk to us. Alright, looks like Poydrak will join us in just a moment. And I believe we've got Poydrak now. Poydrak, GG's on your finish tonight.
Well, I had to get there somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, your eventual finish, maybe we'll put it that.
Yeah, no, I wanted to show everyone just how good the music was everywhere, I suppose, with all the changes that they made to it for the April Fools.
No, what I want to say, as far as was really interesting that we saw on your stream that we didn't see, you went into the Sylph Cave to get that Avenger sword. So did you feel like the knowledge of the vanilla game helped you there?
No. The reason being is I've played through the game twice. Once around 15, 16 years ago, and once in the last year. It was just my memory of knowing where items were that actually put it through. Vanilla game, no. It was just my memory of where the main items were.
Well, that Avenger Sword Crystal Cecil certainly helped you out a lot in that Zeromus fight.
Yeah, that was always the plan for me from the start, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep up with a lot of the other people who have much better knowledge of the actual game itself, the base game. So I just decided to stick with what I know. I knew exactly where the Crystal Sword was. I knew where the Avenger was, roughly. I knew where A few things were in the underground for shops, ups the tiara, the sorcerer robes. I could have gone and got the Mazamune Murasame, but I didn't think I needed those. Just the experience from the lunar spot was enough after that, once I knew where things were.
And you did have one real nail biter moment where Rosa was down to 12 HP but got that tier 4 off. So,
Yeah.
what did you feel about Rosa's HP total going into that Zero-Miss fight?
I was okay with it up until that very last point. But I knew that as long as she survived it, I should be fine. And with the ribbon on as well as the sorcerer robe, there's very few things that will hit her for full amount. Even with the big bangs, it has to be a very unlucky roll.
All right. Well, did you have any other final thoughts about the race tonight?
Yes, I do. And one last thing is, Chocobo at the start of the game was amazing.
Okay.
I'm not sure if anyone else caught it, but I used it quite a bit there.
Nice. Well, thank you for letting us watch your run tonight, Boy Dragon. Thanks for joining us for a little talk here. And GG's again.
Have a good evening.
GG.
So that was Poidrak. Once again, give all of our runners a follow. Poidrak, Chokosura, J Money Motas, and Quest for Workin. And Tarasu, any other thoughts that you have on the run tonight?
Just what everyone's been saying. This 8-bit for the April Fools, absolutely amazing. And the seed that Dimmerin created for us tonight was sheer perfection. I love seeing the runners' thoughts and strategies for knowing where the key items they needed were. It was a great run.